Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast session on Let's Talk Law.
I'm Elaine.
I'm Eugene, and today we have Kenneth from BR Law to share with us legal questions and answers related to property.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so our next question is what are the fees involved for decoupling of existing private house? How long does it take for the decoupling process to complete so that the other party can go ahead and purchase the next property?
My fees are always very cheap. On a more factual note, okay, what people don't usually know that is that when we quote the legal fees, it usually covers a lot of things. It covers things like GST. It covers, the disbursements that are paid to SLA, URA, the legal requisitions. Okay, all of these things, for a normal purchase transaction, for example, we might charge you, let's say, 2005. Of this 2005, 500 goes for mortgage stamping. Over $1,000 actually goes to paying off all of these disbursements. When you are negotiating with your lawyer, just remember that you're not paying him 2005. You're paying him actually like less than $1,000 for one transaction.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because there are all of these package costs that we already bear as part of the fee.
Oh.
So bearing that in mind, generally speaking, for decoupling, it's more complicated because what is happening is that there is a purchase and a sale going on at the same time. And to make it more complicated, apart from a purchase and a sale, there's also a refinancing,
All right.
okay, that's also happening as part of this transaction. So generally, for decoupling, it ranges from around 5,500 to 6,000, okay, as the entire process. And usually as part of this fee quote, we would usually also package in the so-called the seller's lawyer, okay, to provide separate representation. Because it is always very important for the decoupling process to make it very clear that it is done at an arm's length. It is important ultimately for decoupling to show IRAS that you really have no share in this property anymore. Because one of the considerations that we always have, especially with some of the news reports on those 100 sell 1 cases and 99 1 cases, I think it becomes very important to show that whatever case that you are doing, whatever transaction that you are doing is done at arm's length and is not done in any way to even give rise to that suggestion that you are potentially evading any sort of tax. So that's something that we are very particular about to protect the client and naturally to protect ourselves. Yes.
So the fees is 5,000 to
5,500
5.
to 6,000 for decoupling. To decouple an existing private property, this entire process, okay, it's like a normal purchase and sale. Only difference is that to a large extent you have a bit more control over the timeline, because you get to fix whether you want to complete this in 2.5 months or in 3 months. Generally speaking, once again, I always like to refer back to when you sign the loan agreement with the bank. From the date that you sign the loan agreement, generally you expect the entire process to be completed in around 2.5 months,
2.5 months.
okay, to 3 months, okay. So what I would always like to share also, usually people decouple because they want to buy that new property to free up that one name. So one of the things that we always want to point out is that in this rush, if you would, to fund a new purchase, your decoupling generally cannot be expedited enough, okay? Because the timeline for your decoupling, I would always like to say that from when I complete the decoupling and when you can use the money to fund the new purchase, generally the entire process takes 3 months, okay?
Right.
But then your new purchase, okay, especially if you are, buying a new launch, okay, it's only 8 weeks from when you put down the 5%.
Yes, correct.
So that's why increasingly there is this trend of clients who, once they secure that number, okay, and once they have confirmed that unit, as part of the negotiations, usually they try to negotiate with the developer to give them an extension of time to exercise. Because you must remember that it's not just based upon the controller of housing agreeing to the extension. It is also based on the developer agreeing to give you that extension. So it's twofold.
Right.
Ah.
So what if, let's say, they don't need the funds? They just need to decouple, free the name, don't need the funds to purchase, to do the next purchase. How long does this need?
That's a lot easier actually in such a situation. All that I need to do is to confirm the valuation of the property and to meet up with the client, sign the decoupling agreement, okay, and within 2 weeks they have to pay the stamp duty, okay, on the decoupling, and that's it. That is what legally, under IRAS rules, what frees up their name so that they
Right.
can buy the new
So it's
property.
2 weeks.
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah, 2 days also can.
Oh, 2 days.
Ah.
Right. Without you touching the funds lah.
When you sign the decoupling agreement, usually there is this deposit that you have to state that you have paid each other. Okay, and I think that's the other thing, because some of the clients come to us and say, hey, it's left hand and right hand, can we just issue a check? So this is the part whereby we're actually very firm with them. We tell them that you can't. Okay, you must really make sure that this funds really changed hands. So this can be by way of cashier's orders, or it can be by way of bank transfer from your own account, sole name account, to the other party's sole name account. Sometimes clients, they don't have that separate bank account, and they have been sort of like operating with joint accounts all the time. So for some of these instances, we have to tell them, no, you must make it very clear. Because I always like to ask them, what if one day IRAS, okay, audits your transaction and they say that, hey, you never actually paid this money to your wife or to your husband. What does that mean? That allows IRAS to hold the view that this decoupling transaction is a sham. And then if your decoupling transaction is a sham, what will happen? It will mean that the new $2 million or $3 million property that you have purchased, you're liable for ABSD.
Right.
Suddenly, then IRAS will be very happy. Please come and give me, 600,000 or 400,000 again.
So basically, what Elaine just asked you somehow sum up the question that I'm going to ask you. What is the rough difference in timeline between decoupling with loan and without loan?
When you decouple with a loan, it's all about, or without loan, ultimately it's all about your ability to finance. Do you need a cash out in relation to this property? Okay, because it's not just freeing up the name legally so that you can buy a new property. It's also about, whether you need that financing, okay, to take out some value, some cash from this property. So the difference in timeline, in a way, already said earlier on, if the clients need a loan to fund the entire process, generally 2.5, 3 months. Without a loan, we generally state that the time frame is a lot shorter. We will not try and complete the transaction in less than a month, okay, because there's still some paperwork that needs to be done. So around a month and a half is generally fine. And in a way, you can argue to say that, when you complete the decoupling actually is less important, because what is more important is signing the decoupling agreement, dating it, and paying the stamp duty on it, because that shows and that enters into IRAS records to show that this decoupling was done, that this name was legally taken out. Usually they don't really care about from IRAS position, the stamp duty position. They don't really care about when you complete the transaction, but they care very much about when this agreement is entered into. Okay, because that's when all of your stamp duty liabilities arise.
Yeah, but for most buyers, the concern will be, can I decouple on time for
The next
me
purchase.
to? Yes.
Correct. So generally speaking, you can almost always decouple on time. Worst case scenario, you find me, I can meet you all over a weekend, okay, and we can get it sorted.
Right.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, the other question is owners with full paid properties, what are the requirements for them to be eligible for equity loan? Can they use this money as a down payment for their next property?
This is where, okay, it's a bit trickier question, because generally when you take an equity term loan, okay, there within the loan document itself, it says that, hey, you as the borrower, you cannot use this equity term loan to use it to fund another property purchase. You are using it for personal investment. Okay, this is one of the things that's almost always stated on every equity term loan lah. And I know that after the equity term loan is dispersed, usually the clients are free to do what they want. Okay, with this lah. You don't know what you don't know, and there are some schools of thought whereby they would say that to be very clear and to be very clean about the transaction, okay, what you might even want to do is that you have lawyer A and bank A do your equity term loan. So you cash out the term loan for your own financing purposes, for your own investment purposes. Then thereafter, if your wife or whoever else wants to do a new purchase, then you might have another law firm that actually assists to act in that particular transaction.
Right.
Though, of course, there's an argument again to be made, okay, just to be very technical. If the husband is taking the term loan, okay, giving money to the wife is always a very highly rated personal investment. Okay, so thereafter, what the wife does with the money, is up to her lah.
Right. We have come to the end of today's session. If you would like to engage Candice for more legal advice on your property matters, please contact him at the number or scan the QR code to reach him.